And we also want to remind you of research best practices that you may know but may not be using consistently. And we also want to add to your knowledge base. In today's agenda, we're going to, we're lucky to have Stacy here to talk to us, like I said, about research and also about collaboration with the library. We're going to talk about research stations, the brand strategy. We're going to have some discussions and go into the next trait, which is word choice. We'll do some house sorting and then have time to do some indicator planning. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over. Some review. They include a variety of sources students can use as they search, question, and locate information. And it also organizes the resources you have gathered for classroom research. Your students are in 3rd grade. We do not expect them to get on the iPad, nor do we want them to, and Google. Because what's going to come up is probably not going to be appropriate. It's going to take them to places that we don't want them to go. Also, that task is a little too difficult for them at this time. So, as a teacher and working in collaboration with the librarian, we're pulling these sources together. So we're going to talk about, I have an example of a research station that we'll look at in just a moment. So what do research stations do? They provide students with a variety of age-appropriate resources. They make it easy for students to access information related to their topic. We don't want them to spend time looking and looking and looking and Googling. Also, they focus the writer's attention on the content and writing rather than, again, on searching for the sources. And they provide a forum for student collaboration, which is critical to student researching. And we're really lucky to have Hillary and Allie here to kind of jump in on the special education side and also the ELL side. Our students are all of our students. And if our students are in special education, that doesn't mean that it's a special education teacher's responsibility. They're all of our responsibility. Every one of us are responsible for that child and to make that child successful. And the resources that are and the knowledge that our ELL teachers have and our special education teachers have could just help us immensely with all of our writers. The strategies that they have and that they can share are not only going to help our ELL students and our special education students, they're going to help our struggling writers, but also, help all the writers in general. So we really want to move to we're working together and not thinking about it separately, like they go off with the ELL teacher and they do whatever they do and then they come back. We're working together as a team, just like we want to work together collaboratively with the librarian. And also research stations are going to make exploration manageable in the classroom. And one thing it is that Hoyt does say is that we have to be prepared. We have to, before we start a unit, to get our materials together and have those research stations ready to go. So what can we have available for students? Well, one thing that's pretty easy to get would be just pictures. What I did, I was thinking if I had a research station, if I had kids looking, polar bears. I decided polar bears, I love bears. So I pulled out pictures. I went to Google Images and I printed off images of polar bears where they could look at this picture. This is research, to look at a picture of a polar bear and to see that polar bear eats seals. You can see it's eating a seal. That's research right there, that it could be that simple. And especially at 3rd grade, it's that simple. You can see that polar bears eat fish. Polar bears are white. Polar bears, we have to be, and this is where, Allie, do you want to jump in with this one? Because you had a good comment about this.
We're talking, thinking about when you're teaching kids how to research, where you might have to think about taking a step back and teaching them certain things like fact and opinion. I can see kids looking at this, actually Randy said it oh, those polar bears like to dance. They're dancing, look. Well, when we're researching, we need to make sure that we're only incorporating facts. Do we know for real that those polar bears really like to dance? So you might have to take a step back and teach fact and opinion before, diving into research, especially for struggling students.
So there's a lot to gain just by looking at photographs, and those are not, or images, and those are not hard to find. You can just Google those as the teacher and print them off and have them at a station. Another thing to think about is realia, which is going to be really important for, especially our English language learners. You want to talk about that, Hillary?
Yeah. I like what Deb says of building off a student's strength. I think that's so important when it comes to our English language learners, is using their background knowledge and their culture to help build on those strengths, because that's kind of how they perceive the world and where they're going to focus their learning, what they already know. So, for example, let's say you have a student from the Middle East and they've never seen snow before. So here they come to Nebraska, and what a great way to build their background knowledge by letting them go out and feel snow and to see what it looks like. Even if we were to go to the Middle East, we would, experience things that we wouldn't have in our background knowledge. So, and that's using those strengths to let them shine is kind of our purpose as teachers. So, that's what I wanted to add about realia.
Thank you, Hillary. And also at the listening station, and maybe also to help with realia, you could Google live webcams for certain animals, and they come up. And I'm so excited about a polar bear one I found, and I'm not allowed to show it because we watched it for a half hour before we found a bear come in the picture. But it was really exciting because it showed the polar bears. It kept coming. I can't even hear it. Yeah, I can hear it. It had to be coming. But then when you saw the polar bear, it's live. It's right there, and the students are observing. And then the teacher is asking questions and modeling how you would take information from that and write it down or put it on a sticky note. That goes back to what Stacy said earlier. Crafting nonfiction, our Hoyt materials support this. They support the writing workshop. You do have a teacher manual with a skeleton. You're the professional, so you know what your kids need. You go through each lesson and decide, okay, I need to spend a few more days on research and teaching kids how to pull out very important points, how to teach kids how to sketch to stretch, and so forth. You decide what your students need and plug those lessons in. It's really getting to know your students. Also, we have the district resources that our district has paid a lot of money for, but we need to use those. They're fabulous. PebbleGo, talk to your librarian. And that's another thing Stacy had said with the other group that, I don't know if she mentioned it this group, I apologize if I didn't hear it, but she put together websites that the students could go to. That wasn't something that the teachers had to do. And then she went to the search engine. I don't know, that's her expertise, but she put it together. That is so helpful for the teachers. Work with the librarians, and let's be collaborative and work together as a team to help our students with the research. All the librarians, that's an expectation of them, and they will do it. They want to. It's a kind of, we're not going to them, I think, and they're not coming to us. We just need to come together. I think we all have the same purpose. We just need to learn to work together. PebbleGo is one that I'm sure you've all been to this one, and it's helped immensely with the research. But again, it's the modeling and going back to crafting. It has great lessons on teaching kids how to research. Well, you're modeling how to pull out what's important, how to put one word on a sticky note, and then turn that into running text. So we're not seeing kids transfer exactly what's from a book onto a piece of paper. That's something that we've come across as we're looking at papers. You can see where they're writing things down that they don't understand. They don't have the background knowledge, so they're just writing things that don't make sense. That's This is new work. Kids wondering and asking questions is not new for kids. We kind of squelch that. We don't want to do that anymore. We want them to wonder. We want them to ask questions. And the RAND strategy allows for that to happen. If they're asking questions, that's going to focus in on their research. So if they're asking questions about bears, what do they eat? Then when they go to do their research, that's what they're looking for. They're just not all over the place, not knowing what they're doing, or just looking at different things. It helps focus them. It helps keep track of the facts they are gathering while still giving them the freedom to discover information on their own. And it shows writers how to begin organizing the various sections of their writing. So we'll see that with this little girl who's in second grade.
Claire,
Hi.
can you talk to me a little bit about how you use research in second grade?
Sure. So we were doing a class report on the rainforest, and this is our rain chart. We wrote down, we each got a sticky note, and we wrote down what we think we know. If we wrote something about plants and we thought we knew that, so we put it in the plants. Someone wrote something what they think they know. And then when we researched, we moved our sticky note to yes, we're right. And if we got one wrong, like if we wrote it down and it was wrong, we put it in we don't think this anymore. And then we got some new learning right here. And then there's one right here. Yeah.
So Claire, is there anything else that you'd like to tell me about your research?
Like the apps we use, they helped us. We got our research notebooks where we write it down, like research it.
Are you enjoying yourself? Do you like it?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for sharing with me the RAND chart. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
What's interesting, and I'm sorry, if they were having indoor recess and I just happened to jump in, so it was kind of hard to hear, but she knew how that whole RAND strategy worked. She was very familiar with it. She had no idea I was coming in. She talked to me right through it. The categories helped. It was very organized. And that was a class RAND chart, so that was how it was modeled, and she was able to talk about this. This is actually a first grade classroom, and this is an individual RAND chart. One thing I do want to mention is all of our students should have thinking partners. They should be doing research together. That doesn't mean they're writing the same thing. They're not, but they're processing it together, and that language aspect is critical for all of our students, especially students who have language deficiencies or our ELL students. So do you want to talk about that for a moment?
Sure. If you just think back to when you took a foreign language class, when you started out, you were just kind of learning words, and you didn't really know how to put them together until you advanced on and started having conversations and then using those in your writing. Well, that's kind of what it looks like for ELL students. I know in the Hoyt Crafting Nonfiction book, they have little turn and talk parts. Those are pretty powerful for ELL students because they're getting a chance to talk about what they're learning and they're internalizing it. So when they go to write it on paper, they have a better concept of what they're actually going to write because they've had that practice within a doll and a computer.
Thank you. Allie, anything you want to mention about this?
Not really. I mean, just same thing, building that language piece.
Okay, and this is, like I said, first grade, individual RAND chart. It's been blown up so that they can manipulate the sticky notes. And you can just see this, it's really cute. This group working together, it's a heterogeneous group. We have special education students, we have regular students, and they're working together on researching giraffes.
Tell me all about what you're doing.
We are learning about giraffes. Here's some facts.
Will you tell me your category?
Giraffe. What do giraffes do? Where do giraffes eat?
Where do giraffes live and other facts.
Okay.
Giraffe have spots. Giraffe have long necks. Giraffes eat leaves. Wait, what was yours, Kane? Giraffes eat leaves. Giraffe leaves. What does that say? We don't know what that says.
Mikey, did you write giraffes eat grass?
Oh, yeah. Giraffes eat grass. Giraffes live in Africa. Forest. Kind of forest. Giraffes can live in forest.
And that's a powerful part of them working together with a group, of not having so many choices, because when they're talking together, they're learning together, and they're putting their sticky notes together on what they eat. They both learned something different, but they put it together and they're going to be able to use that. And they're talking about it, so they're putting it in their own words. They're learning to paraphrase. Obviously, they need teacher modeling too on all of that. The way Hoyt's set up is at K2, you have a class project that you do together, and then 3rd through 6th, you model, you do the individual. Now, this is pretty new, so at this point, you might want to do that, so that might be a decision. I think it would be good to have a whole, we're going to do one together, and then we're going to have it. So that would be up to you. Hopefully, after they've gone through this, that this is going to be something where they can just go, they've done the RAM strategy, they're used to it, so by the time they're in 3rd grade, it's not going to be something that's going to have to be modeled, but that's a great question. So right now, maybe that's what you want to do. This is another example of a classroom RAM chart. This is 1st grade, so there's a column that was taken out, so it's not so intimidating. But then you also see the categories, and they know where to put their sticky notes. And the teacher was only focusing on where do roses live. Is that what it said? And so she covered everything else. They took their iPads, they had permission to take their iPads on a field trip with them. They took pictures of roses, and that's how they came up with this class project. Really cool. And then their individual ones. We're going to move if you have any other questions. I'll answer those now, or just write them down, but we're going to move into the next discussion.
Right, so all along the way, as we are talking about the writing and the process and the researching, you're conferencing along with the students each step of the way. And we're bringing this back to our forefront here today so that we can really say, so then we've talked conferencing together, we've talked guided writing. So really, when do those come in and when do I know where to go for each one? So conferencing, remember, would be that you're teaching kind of in the moment, and the student's leading it through that research phase. They're talking to you and they're sharing with you what you're doing, and you're making decisions on the spot of what they're showing you that they would be best. Versus the guided writing, which might be you're pulling a group of kids together because you're noticing that they're struggling with the skill that you're doing. Maybe it's the research. Maybe they're not sure which word goes on force through this piece and this writer. Then ask yourself, what is this writer ready to learn? What step would I take them to, or where would I ask them to go next? And then that next section becomes, where would I go, or what resource could I use to help me get them there? So what crafting nonfiction lesson could support the teaching of my next step? So we're going to kind of start by ourselves, and then we'll have you share in just a few minutes. So kind of just take the time to think first. We see that you're starting to talk, so we know that that's where we're ready to go. We do always want to think about what did the writer do well. These students are making themselves vulnerable as soon as they put something on paper. They are doing something well. Every single student that is putting anything on paper is doing something well. We need to figure out what that is and make sure that we acknowledge it, and so we're able to stretch it or reinforce it so that they know what they're doing well. And then that next step is, what are they ready to learn? What can they be successful in? And always think, we went back and go back to the conferencing talk that we had before, and you have those 4 stages and pulling out that sheet if you need it to think about what that step could be. So you have somebody next to you that has the same color paper. So right now, if you would share with that person what you think the star would be and what you think the step would be. Just join us as we go with some more conversation. So we're going to let you kind of share some more about that.
Deb, Shannon, Randy, and Allie and myself, we all sat down last week and we kind of talked about things that we see that we can probably do better, and one of them was collaboration. I feel, and I'm guilty of it, I throw the word collaboration around, but I don't really define it when I'm collaborating with classroom teachers. So just kind of like things of sharing graphic organizers, because I'm really relying on you guys to give me the information that you're teaching, the graphic organizers you're going to use, and all of that. So that's one thing that we kind of talked about, just knowing each other's roles, and when we're going to collaborate, I'm one person in my building, so sometimes I can't make it to the 3rd grade collaboration time. So other cases, email. I know in my building, 6th grade, we email back and forth, different things that we're thinking about using to help support students during their writing. I don't have any 3rd graders this year, but last year Denise and Josh were great about letting me know what was coming up, what the students were working on right then during the writing time. So I really appreciated that.
Now to kind of piggyback on what Hillary was saying, it's really important, I think, when you're collaborating to define roles and expectations. So I know when I meet with my teachers, I say, okay, it's you know the curriculum, you know the heart of it because you're teaching it. So you bring that information, and then I'll bring my knowledge of differentiation, grouping for guided writing groups and things like that. And then you have a more productive collaboration time. You can talk more about, okay, what will be taught for certain kids, even if you need to meet in groups or individual conferencing. What do we need to touch on, as opposed to, well, here's all the information, or gathering materials. You've already done that. You know your role. You know what you're bringing. So you can really get down to business when you're meeting. Another thing that we really talked about is visuals, and Hillary kind of touched base on it, or graphic organizers. And again, that isn't just for struggling students. All students can benefit from graphic organizers, visuals. But the key part of visuals is going back to them constantly. Whether it's in your modeling stage, whether it's in your guided practice stage, whether it's in your independent stage, just constantly going back to that and making those visuals meaningful to them, so that it is something that they can take away with them that isn't necessarily based on the information in that piece of writing, but that they can take with them to every time they write a conclusion. What needs to be in my conclusion every time I write a conclusion? What visual is going to help me remember that? Every time I write a lead, what So taking those visuals and constantly going back to them, but knowing that those visuals need to pertain to the actual how to write it, not what is in that specific piece of writing.
And even though I've taught EL for 6 years, sometimes I feel like it's a new day and I have a student that I'm like, oh, am I supporting them enough with their needs? I have a 6th grade student who came last March from China with a little bit of English, and he's progressed to where we're working on those academic skills, his writing, kind of improving those writing skills. And I thought I was doing a great job by just giving him, when there was a word he didn't understand, just giving him another word for it or a definition. And finally I just asked him, I said, is this helping you? Or would pictures help you more? And he said, the pictures will help me more. So I think just, even I need those gentle reminders that I need to do what's going to help the student progress in his or her skills. So.
And then the last part, understanding the task and breaking it down into simple steps, that also goes back to a clear visual of breaking it down into steps, and then also knowing what those steps are. So earlier we talked about showing the picture of the polar bear, and you might have to take steps back and teach fact and opinion. There might be several kids that need fact and opinion reteaching, or an example that we'll share later is, a conclusion. In conclusion, you have, that's your big points, your big main idea. Well, you might have to review with kids on the difference between main idea and details. So knowing exactly where that writer needs support and breaking it down to where it's going to be the most beneficial that they can take with them.
And just, that's why, we're here, is just, we want you to use us, in order to help students be successful. And
You could be doing in your PLC, pulling together papers and talking about that. I mean, it's nice to get another perspective, to have someone else look at, you're getting to know your writers, and so that can skew maybe your thinking, or where am I going to go next? So if you're coming together with your grade level partners, and you're discussing the work, and you're helping each other with the steps, the stars and the steps, and then that's a great PLC activity. And then, maybe you can see where your partner's doing a great job with leads or transitions, whatever it may be. Have those discussions and move forward. Anything you want to say, Dr. Weichel, about PLCs and the process?
I'm just having a lot of connections here, just even with the writing process in itself. And we talked about the personalized learning just a little bit ago, and how really it ties into that. You're really knowing your students. You're looking at the data, just the activity that we did really quickly. It's really personalizing for the students. Do we do it individually? Do we group them up? I mean, based on where their needs are, we might, if we don't have a group of students that kind of fit that same need, we might go conference with that student one-on-one. With this group over here, I might be a small group of 4 or whatever it is. So I just really making that connection that this really ties in very nicely.
And I'm glad you said that, because when I think of writing and I think of conferencing, I think of personalization at its best. You're going to each student and they're talking to you and they're talking about what they need. How can you get more personalized? I mean, there's different layers and there's different, and we know that, but as elementary teachers, we're pretty good at this. So we do this for our students, and we need to applaud ourselves, because it's happening.
This is the area we would take those writers. And so that's the trait we're going to add on to our discussions today. So we're going to be talking word choice. And when we left off last time, we had trial of web similes that you're teaching your students? Metaphors.
When we talk about verbs, I know I'm going back a step, but one thing we did want to talk about, this is a great way to use our grammar into our writing. Why do we learn about parts of speech? Is it so we can diagram sentences? So if I look at a sentence, I know what a verb is? Well, that's not why we do it. We do it so we can talk as writers, so we can make our writing better. You can't have that conversation if you don't know what a verb is. You can't have that conversation if you don't know what an adjective is. That's the whole purpose of knowing parts of speech. It's not to fill up worksheets, so that we take it back to our writing, we have those conversations, and we make our writing better.
And then sometimes what we'll find happen is kids are going to get excited about each of these things. And sometimes maybe even a little word drum.
And we were wondering if you would write one for us. Of course, I'd be honored. Thank you.
I think there's been an oversight. I would have asked you, I just thought you wouldn't be interested.
Yeah, it's just that we don't think of you as really being so much with the words.
Hey, oh, hey.
Clearly, we were wrong.
Dear baby adoption decider people. So excited about your letter. Shannon, what you working on? Oh, Monica and Chandler's recommendation. I want it to sound smart, but I don't know any big words or anything. Well, why don't you use your thesaurus? What I just said. God, that's great. I'm smart. No, I'm brainy, bright, clever. I love this thing. Some of the words a little too sophisticated for that.
It doesn't make any sense.
Of course it does. It's smart. I used a thesaurus. On every word? Yep.
What was this sentence originally?
Oh, they are warm, nice people with big hearts. And that became, they are human, prepossessing Homo sapiens with full-size tailored punks.
It off. Alright, so we know along the way there can be some misadventures that occur. Getting a little word drum could be one of them. Along with us being able to say what is the logic, behind the error, being able to actually steer in the right direction. And saying we have to look at these mistakes that they're making actually as an experiment. Being excited about the efforts that they're doing. And knowing that that's what helps them excel when we let them take some risks and move forward. Just a word of caution too, along the way with those risks, there are larger words, which means spelling kind of comes into that play. Saying, okay, so what do we do about that? We know that spelling actually has nothing to do with word choice. We would want to credit and encourage the use of larger words. When we tend to focus on spelling and spelling alone, then we tend to actually have writers who will back up and use words that they know how to spell. So just, kind of keeping it on the forefront that what we do, our ways of encouraging is how we're going to move our writers and let them experiment and play as well. And that means that we have to know how to help them experiment and play along the way by providing texts that helps them see what other writers are doing. Help them read like writers and notice writers' crafts. So we then would have some mentor books along the way. We chose not to bring books this time because we really felt like this is an area where we already have our passion for some of the books and the authors that we love for word choice. But we did want to share with you just kind of some things to just remind yourself on that small purple piece of paper in front of you, are just some of these same questions. Just to ask yourself to say, is this truly a book that's going to accentuate word choice for my students? By saying, does it have the words and phrases that students would want to know? Does it have words I can really honestly talk about loving myself? I mean, there's nothing worse than getting up in front of kids and faking it. fake modeling things for them, so be passionate about what it is you're talking about. Are there challenging words that can help boost my kids and I can help show them how to do that? Is the meaning clear from the context, so can they decipher what these words mean within it? And does it contain some words that might just be new to them? I get to help them explore new words with the new choices that I make in my text. And really, is the author being able to use those words creatively and show them something playful and powerful when it comes to word choice. So we're making conscious decisions about the books that we're using as mentor texts because we are going to take them then into our interactive read alouds and show them what authors are doing and show them what we are doing as authors as well as we get in front of our students and show them that we are writers and we appreciate the things that these writers are doing. We also can teach this through our non-crafting, our crafting nonfiction lessons that go along with this as well. So there's that whole section in your books that will help you hit these types of words with students and be able to really read those needs. Okay, so putting this all together, we're going to ask you then to pull out the white stapled papers that are in front of you. These are 4 different modes that you will find. And as a model writer for classrooms, then you go to your students with mentor texts. These texts need some boosting up. We talked about different modes and the types of words that you would use to kind of power up and muscle up text in each of those genres. Just select one. You'll have enough time to play along or play with just one of them. And get a feel for what that feels like yourself and have something you can take back to your room as a mentor text to use as well. So just on your own, spend a few minutes kind of glancing through here and saying, what would I approach and how would I beef up these articles with word choice? Let's take one, and I'm just going to ask a few self-reflection questions. Don't answer them out loud. It's just for you to think, that when you were asked to do this task, did you dive right in? Did you have some hesitancy where you're like, start, this makes me feel nervous? Really thinking about yourself as a writer is something we have to kind of get beyond that barrier, and it does take time and it's a challenge to do that. All right, but I know you probably wrote something you're pretty proud of, right? So, why don't you get up and just share whatever you did with someone, just about like a 2-minute share, and we'll come back to our seats. So stand up, share what you wrote, and somebody show up. All right, so you've got your word choice, you've got a sense of this. What do we need to think about when we're talking about our ELLs or our special lessons? Again, so we're going to have Ellie and sorry, I'm going to just see where you are, come back up here, and do whatever you're comfortable with.
I thought it earlier in our student talk when we were talking about those student examples. Just being able to compare different mentor texts with students so that they can see a mentor text that isn't strong and compare it with a strong. And these are kind of, I'm sure all of you have seen these. These are some of the mentor texts that I use to help kind of reinforce that word choice. They're kind of funny and they're really visual for ELL students. The ELL students really gravitate towards those graphics or graphic novels would be another good resource. Another thing is just providing students with choices. You can use a list or a ring of words. Maybe have them write down 3 more words that they could use in place of a word that you see them using over and over, just so they get that practice of using those words, and then maybe later on continuing to add to their vocabulary.
And also, there's apps on iPads that for kids who might be ELL and may not know what a lot of those sparkle words mean, and if they type it in, then it will tell them what that word means in their language. And so, they might be like, oh, okay, I get what that means, and then be more apt to use it in the future.
So some of your writers within the works and the pieces that they're bringing, you're going to see all of varying needs as well. On the rubric we looked at earlier, word choice is on there. It's connected actually what the state took voice. But the areas in blue, and obviously D, word choice, the wording is generally expressive and the language is specific, precise, and varied, is what we're looking at for proficiency in this area. So we need to give you time just to look through the papers that you brought, thinking about all of these ideas when we're talking about word choice. Where would your writers fall? And what would you do next? So as you're continuing that process of learning and thinking and putting them on the rubric, always saying, where would I go? What is their star? What is their step? Here's where they are now. How do I do that? So we're going to just give you some time to look at your room and thinking word choice, highlight to your